Mr. Speaker, thank you for affording me the opportunity to address this honorable House. To the members on the other side, happy post-Republic. And to the winning side, APNU+AFC family that I represent, who also represents all Guyanese, despite of race, color, or creed, and who will be back in government soon, I say a warm hello to you. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I did not extend my prayer today for mercy, peace, and favor for Guyana, and for us to overcome the myriad of challenges so our people can thrive and enjoy the abundance of God's grace. To every single person here in Guyana infected with COVID-19, I pray that you will have a full recovery as quickly as possible. Our hearts goes out to the families and even the communities affected as well. I want to reach out to all the persons who are confined in quarantine or in isolation. We know this is not an easy time for you as you live each day with the weight of worry and uncertainty. To our frontline workers, I salute you. However, Mr. Speaker, our dear land of Guyana is experiencing another great threat, a disease. I'm talking about an infection that stymies progress, breeds corruption, empowers the wealthy, and feeds scraps to the less fortunate. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about those warming our seat in government. Mr. Speaker, as a Guyanese with proven citizenship, I feel dismayed, hurt, and appalled, but not surprised with the budget presented by the honorable member. This budget will go down in history as one of the worst ever presented. This budget is perverse, malicious, and precarious. If you recognize that this is the true representation of the PPP. Mr. Speaker, I represent the Upper Demerara-Berbice region. In this budget, $4.78 billion is allocated, an increase from $3.9 billion in the so-called 2020 emergency budget. It sounds good, right? An increase is good. Well, the harsh reality is that 48% is allocated to employment cost, 36.9% goes to other charges, and 14.3% goes to capital expenditure. If one is to pay keen attention, this is not a new formula that is being used by the PPP. It's the same formula that it used while it was in government for 23 years that has oppressed the beautiful region that I call Upper Demerara-Berbice. I speak on behalf of my constituency when I say we have had enough. And it notes that it was on the path to a promised land under President David Granger at that time. However, Mr. Speaker, there is light at the end of the tunnel. The APNU+AFC appreciates the PPP's efforts to continue our proven legacy of some key projects within that region. One of it is the completion of the call center, which is expected to employ about 300 young people, and if on a 24-hour basis, will employ about 900. We thank you for continuing this project. Also, we want to say thank you for continuing the project of the Linden to Mabura Road. Also, we want to say thank you for continuing the construction of the Christian Board Primary School. We also want to say thank you for continuing our legacy project for the Linden synthetic track. But Mr. Speaker, my people are disappointed with the fact that in the 2021 budget, the Kokwani to Linden Road is not catered for when it comes to maintenance. We ask that this be corrected. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to agriculture, there's urgent need for full policy implementation that will transform this sector, not only for food security, but one that is sustainable and commercially viable. I am proud to say, Mr. Speaker, that just a week ago, the capable and competent councillors started its first monthly farmers market day, which was a success, and I say kudos to them. Under the theme, grow local, consume local, and buy local. There is much more to be done. While the government continues our legacy project, The Millie's Hideout Road, we say thank you for continuing it. But the farmers want to know by how many kilometers will this project continue. It was the vision of the Apnu+Afc to bridge the gap from Berbice River to Linden to ease the transport of goods. Also, we want to know the West Watuka Road is currently in a terrible state, but are we going to put back a single lane road? If we're serious about farming, we need to ensure that at least 2 tractors can pass in the road. And we ask that this be corrected. Mr. Speaker, the Tacoma Savannah, over the last decade, we have recognized that there's increased farming activities, especially when it comes to citrus farming. But that road is in a terrible, terrible state. And the Honorable Member, Mark Phillips, can attest that the Tacoma Battle School soldiers who traverse there, they have expressed their dear frustration. Mr. Speaker, as a former lecturer, I believe I've grown to understand over the period the importance of education and the true concept of no child left behind. It is not to rush students through the system, it's to ensure that key stakeholders, being the educators and learners, have the necessary resources to deliver and receive. Mr. Speaker, I fear after this global pandemic has left us, the underprivileged in my constituency, 16 indigenous communities, Kokwani and Aichoni, will be left behind because this government's ineptitude to maintain the ICT hubs, establish stable internet access, and distribute computers to those who need it the most. The government claims that it cares about young people so much that they have terminated the former Ministry of Public Security re-education program, which aimed at re-educating potential juveniles, juvenile delinquents, teenage mothers, and school dropouts. They need a second opportunity as well. Most recently, we have observed that they went after the contractor of who's looking at the LTI dormitory, which should have housed over 200 young people from far-flung communities. We say to you, and we understand that the PPP do not care about the young people. Mr. Speaker, the residents of Upper Demerara Berbice, and most recently, the speaker before me, Honorable Dr. Prasad, spoke about the Board of Governors. Now, Region 10 is predominantly of Afro descent. And what we recognize is that with the recent appointment of directors to this board, it's predominantly Indian. That's the Board of Guardians. I say to you, what we have recognized, it seems as if the PPP is politicizing this board and it comes over as being racist. And this is unacceptable. We ask that it be corrected. During the APNU+AFC government, we had ensured that all interest groups, even representatives from the religious community, have been a part of this board so it can better serve those who needed the assistance most. When it comes to natural resources, in April of this year, Linden will complete 105 years of bauxite mining. This very resource has contributed handsomely to this country's gross domestic product. It has survived 14 global recessions, which brought severe economic and financial disruption in many countries, such as Guyana. And to date, Mr. Speaker, it still maintains the highest employment rate, second to the public sector. And I must inform this honorable House that Region 10 per capita pay the most taxes. Mr. Speaker, the bauxite industry needs attention. There must be a level playing field for investors. Currently, we have a bauxite company who's producing value-added products, while we have another company who's just extracting the ore and sending it to a different country for processing. We have a company who is thinking about expanding and employing more Guyanese, while most recently, we had a bauxite company that fired hundreds of our workers. Those communities affected, Hururu, Araima, and specifically Kokwani. Let me say this, Mr. Speaker, That very company I'm speaking about is Russo, who extracted their equipment. I am saying to this honorable house and to the other side, if it is that Russo has no interest in bauxite mining in this country, well, let them go. But I encourage you on the other side to ensure that we get an investor that comes and take over that operation. We cannot afford to play luck and chance with people's livelihoods. This is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, I make reference to an editorial in Starbuck newspaper dated February 21st by renowned economist Lincoln Lewis, which posited, he said that sugar in Guyana is being produced at 0.41%, and it's being sold on the world market for 0.13%. And this represents a loss of 0.28 cents, right? Forgive me. And it continues to say, the disparity in attention and the treatment of bauxite and sugar based on economics cannot withstand scrutiny. Mr. Speaker, it is time that the government act and represent the people of sub-region 2. When it comes to local government, my capital town, Linden, since when I served as a municipal councillor, I've always had financial difficulties, a problem which existed during the PPP's installed interim management committee back in the 90s. Linden is indebted over $100 million owed to NIS, GRA, and other agencies. This debt affects entitled salary increases, employment benefits, and the lack of proper service to over 30,000 residents. The Honorable Darren Lal, I ask of you to consider this and make representation to your side. We need the new boundaries in Linden to be regularized, and I'm talking from Bamio to Rockstone Junction and Comaka. We also would like the revaluation of properties so people can pay proper rates and taxes. We also would like the return of the toll booth at the Wismar-Mackenzie Bridge to the municipality. And also, this $18 million subvention is not good enough. We propose $50 million because we have a growing town. Let me also say to you, Honorable Member Dharamlal, that my capital town, Linden, is asking for a complete bailout if you truly care about the folks in Region 10. Upper Demerara Barbies asks that many squatting areas be regularized, similarly to what we had done to Andysville and Frostville. We ask that those areas be regularized. And listen, we welcome the distribution of 1,000 houses, but my people of Upper Demerara Barbies have one concern. Who will be the beneficiaries of these 1,000 houses? We have a backlog of people for decades who have applied and have not gotten a chance for a house lot as yet. We ask this question, who will be the true beneficiaries? And they also want to know, will the necessary infrastructure be put in place, such as proper roads and water? Mr. Speaker, when it comes to electricity, this installed regime continues to boast about 0% taxes on electricity, continues to boast about 0% taxes on electricity. This here is misleading. It is misleading. Now listen, I'm looking at specimen of an electricity bill in Linden, and it says this person pays $700 tax, VAT, on the reconnection fee. Let it be known in this house today, how can a small man who can barely afford to pay his electricity bill afford to pay a reconnection tax? And this here needs to be registered. We are being fooled as Guyanese. When it comes to infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, the intention of the Apnu+Afc government was to construct a new Wismar-Mackenzie Bridge. The feasibility study has already been done. My people are disappointed in the fact that this Wismar-Mackenzie Bridge had not been considered in the 2021 budget. We continue to face a backlog of traffic. If you're making Linden a capital town, and it's the gateway to the interior and the coast, we need a new bridge. and you say that you care about the people. You don't care about the people. I also want to bring to your attention, Mr. Speaker, that the Linden-Suzak Highway is in a terrible state. Most recently, we have had an accident, and we continue to get accidents. We have completed the feasibility study, and we ask the members on the other side to continue that project. In the 2021 budget, we recognize that there is patch work. We don't want patch work. We need a proper highway. How many more deaths do we need on the Linden-Suzak Highway before we actually catch our senses? I ask you, the other side.
Honorable member, before you can continue along the highway, you need some time.
Thank you. Comrade Speaker, I do move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Mr. Jones. Honorable Member Mr. Sears, you may continue to conclude.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the PPP had promised 50,000 jobs, and this is a farce, right? That's another pink slip. Many projects under this regime throughout our region is being outsourced. We have competent contractors. Why is it that a contractor from along the coast and as far as Berbice have to go to Linden and complete a job when we have resources and we have people that can complete it? This creates a gap in our economy, right? And who's suffering? The small man is suffering. The small man is suffering. When it comes to health, I must say to you, Mr. Speaker, that we're in dire need of a dialysis machine. It's not functioning. And we ask that the honorable member responsible for health look into this urgently. But I want to draw your attention to a much more serious issue, one that has to do with the sacking or not re-signing the contract of the St. John's Ambulance Brigade workers. Those women have no means of income. They have children to feed. They have many eyes looking at them in the morning and saying, "Mommy, what are we going to eat?" While the members on the other side enjoying the best life as possible, big vehicle and staying at hotels and all these things, the good life must trickle down to the small man. You say that you care about young people, and you have fired some NDMA data entry clerks in our region. What are they supposed to do now? It's a good thing that in Region 10 we live as one. We look out for each other. We help each other. And that is how we get them by. We are a faith-based community. Mr. Speaker, I can safely say this because I don't believe the members on the other side getting through or understanding what I'm saying. I got to use country terms. Juja, Juju, Chacha, and Gauji want walk too. We, the people of Region 10, need jobs. And while you play politics, we have mothers crying and not knowing where they're going to get the next meal from to feed their children. This is unacceptable. When it comes to financing, the Linden Enterprise Network, during the APNU+AFC, we had given it $100 million. And this year was to help the small man get on his feet, start his small businesses so he can be independent. But let me tell you, in this budget, there is $0 going towards the Linden Economic Network. What will happen to the small man? This is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. I say to you, there is no new investment coming to Linden. Yes, the other side will boast about a $2 million US factory that's coming, concrete factory. But this is abstract. Just like the plan with the rehabilitation of the Mackenzie Sports Club ground, you need to consult the people. That is the only way we can have collective ideas and work together as one. Mr. Speaker, we in Upper Demerara Berbice, we want new businesses, skyscrapers, 4-lane highways, super speed internet, modern sports facilities, safe spaces, universities. We want to drink milk and honey. We want to eat prime steak, prawns. We want to have champagne dreams and caviar wishes. We want the promised land, and we want it now. The same attention that is being given to West Dem and Berbice, we want the same attention. Mr. Speaker, as I close, and as I prepare to yield, I posit the quote from Linden's very own poet, Leon Labastide, and from his Amazon best-selling book, We Are One. And I hope our president pays attention to this. The fog will fade eventually, and we will appear. We are no longer strangers anymore, nor black nor white, nor Afro-Guyanese or Indo-Guyanese. We are simply human beings. We are living in paradise, falling in love with the waterfalls, bauxite in our blood, gold in our head. What a compass. The evidence I carry, one people, one nation, one destiny. The fog will fade eventually. And the APNU plus AFC will be back in government to deliver good life to all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, I humbly submit that the 2021 budget does not care for the small man, and I cannot support it at this time.